Good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Simon O'Byrne from Stantec Consulting. We've proposed 5 applications. The first application is to amend the Capital City Downtown Plan. This is the original 1997 plan that's going to be coming forward. It's a brand new plan in June, but we've been working with the original 1997 plan, which has been amended several times from that time. We've drafted a rezoning application that changes the site from DC2 500, which is commonly known as the Backyard Casino lands, and the surface parking lot immediately south of 104th Avenue. That would go to the Arena and Entertainment District zone. It's been very much modeled on the CCA zone, that's proposed within the new downtown plan. We've used that as a basis from which to start. There's also an application to do a road closure. There's a small existing road closure runs north-south on the site, approximately at about 103 Street, between 103 and 104 Street, north of 104th Avenue. And lastly, there's the disposition of an MR. So at the time that the CN lands were originally dealt with back in the mid-1980s, there was an MR parcel created at that time. It was simply thrown in the current location, and I'll get into more detail in just a moment. And it was proposed that that land be disposed at a later time, and that there would be a transfer to into the City of Edmonton's fund for park creation. Moving along, and we have a process now where we are between the initial application that was submitted at the official public meeting. We had our own open house that was very well attended several weeks ago. As Scott alluded to earlier, we're intending to go to council at the very end of June. Right now, we're at this stage of the process. As you can, it's not shown in here, sorry, the graphic's not coming up. We are right before where all the applications will be reviewed by all the civic agencies. We will get a summary of all the comments from all the civic agencies. We'll get a summary of the comments that you make tonight, the comments we've heard along the way, and also from them to Design Committee, where we were yesterday. We'll get those comments and we'll adjust accordingly before we go back to City Hall for the various bylaws at the end of June. The application, as you can see in front of you, is to change, like I said, from DC2 500 to the entertainment and the Arena Entertainment District for both parcels of land. The Arena and Entertainment Zone was intended to be a vibrant and mixed-use zone, modeled very much, like I said, on the CCA zone for the downtown. It's to try and create a very exciting place within the downtown where there's cultural amenities, vertical and horizontal mixed uses, where there's opportunities for sports in the form of the arena, and also an opportunity for cafe culture, for a variety of retail activities, office, hotels, and it's going to include some potential institutional uses as well. It will very much strengthen the core. It strengthens the core by increasing the employment base within the downtown, by increasing the residential population in the downtown, and creating more opportunities for cultural and entertainment activities. It has been very much characterized as a pedestrian-friendly development. We've designed it in terms of employing the best urban design principles to ensure that it will be a very walkable development. It will enhance the downtown, and will ensure that the downtown is a very vibrant place, but also very much a very urban and pedestrian-oriented environment. Within the specific application for the Arena Entertainment Zone, there are a number of land uses. I've just simply shown a number of them here. This is not an exhaustive use, but I wanted to hit the major land uses that are permitted within this land use zone. They include the spectator sports establishment. That's basically the arena land use. Spectator entertainment establishments, apartment housing, casino and other gaming establishments, lounges, so this would include bars and restaurants, and hotels, general retail stores, so these would be everything from fashion outlets. You could have cafes, and you could also have live-work units on the site, and an inclusion for minor home-based businesses, for people that want to operate small businesses out of the future residential on the site. Opportunities for public libraries and cultural exhibits, public park, professional finance and office support services. This is essentially the land use zone for office buildings. And also including specialty food services, and lastly, a number of different signs within the site. The site is proposed to have an FAR of 18. FAR is basically, if you were to take the site area and multiply it by 18, that tells you the full potential theoretical build out of the site. This is a theoretical number that you could not exceed, but you would have to be underneath. So it's the general area of the site multiplied by 18. It's similar to some of the other land uses within the downtown. The existing zone is slightly lower, but it's consistent with some new rezoning applications that have come forward in the downtown. We propose to have a maximum building height of 80 stories, which is about 180 meters. That said, there's the airport overlay that's currently on the site today. At such time that the airport runway, right now it's proposed that the north-south runway would be closed potentially as early as August. The runway that goes from the northwest to the southeast is proposed to remain open. So as that one remains open, there's an airport overlay that that takes precedent over the 60 meters. So until such time as that's removed, that's what's governing the maximum height for the site. Should that be removed, and we have to think very much temporally, that is in a long-term basis in terms of the full build out of the site, we want to protect that opportunity for a larger height. The setbacks for the site are designed to encourage pedestrian activity and very much a cafe culture. We're proposing a 4.5 meter setback that will create that type of space for active, vibrant pedestrian activity. We will also at the development permit stage need to do a pedestrian movement study. That study will then determine how many pedestrians we anticipate on that site, because we might have to adjust the setbacks accordingly. For example, depending on the arena and how many spectators are going to be there, the number of crossings, how it works with the Transportation and Streets Department regarding the network, we might need to increase or reduce the size of the setbacks, especially along 104th Avenue, to make sure that it's a safe place to cross between the south side of 104th and the north side of 104th as people cross at street level to get to the arena. Amenity areas will have to be provided when there's residential uses on the site and also non-residential buildings. We're proposing to have at least 4% of the area be set aside as a minimum for amenity areas. There will also be a diversity of the open space throughout the development to accommodate year-round use. I'm going to speak to this a little later, but this very much speaks to the principle of winter city design and making sure that it is a great space 12 months of the year, not just 6 or 8 months of the year. Parking, we're going to abide by the City of Edmonton's existing parking for the downtown, which is section 54, so there's some rules within that. We're actually proposing to reduce some of the parking requirements on the site. That said, at the development permit stage, we will need to do a shared use impact assessment to determine what the ultimate parking requirements will be for the site. As you know, the Epcor Tower is currently under construction, and there might be other buildings that will go up in the area. So we'll need to determine accessibility and use of some of those parking areas within the vicinity to see if we could use some of those to reduce the parking that would need to be provided on site. We want to make sure this is a very urban development and want to make sure that we don't have to provide too much more parking than would otherwise be required. Speaking on the urban note, it's been very much designed not just as a pedestrian-oriented place, but also as a very cycling-oriented place. As such, there's provisions within the land use zone that ensure that parking, ample bicycle parking will be provided for all the development that occurs on the site. There'll have to be shower space provided so that whether you live there, whether you work there, that there'll be various shower facilities in there. Just want to make sure that it's a very cyclist-oriented development as well. In addition, we will have to do a landscape architecture plan, a detailed one at the development permit stage. That will need to include streetscaping and landscape aspects that would include ornamental street lighting, street furniture, pavement materials, and so forth, and also boulevard trees, plantings, and all the details regarding lighting, waterscaping, and so forth. Signs will also need to be dealt with at the development permit stage regarding the very specific details. At the onset, there will have to be a comprehensive sign package that will specify the general location of signs, the illumination of the signs, the type and orientation of the signs, how animated they are, how they're not animated. We're also providing an inclusion of theatrically programmed environment signs. So what is that? That's projection systems, lead lighting. If you're familiar with things like what's happened with the Olympic barge that was sitting in the Broad Inlet in Vancouver, that was an 80-meter wide barge that had 40,000 different light combinations that could be used on it. So LED technology has advanced tremendously. We want to very much employ the best practices with respect to nightscaping and make sure it's a very interesting place that accents architectural features, but also makes it a very exciting environment as well. Sustainability is a key aspect, and in this way we're very much in line with the downtown plan. We're intending to apply techniques to reduce the consumption of water, energy, and materials to be consistent with good sustainable design practices, and also employ potentially LEED and or BREEAM standards, and also make sure that the site has green sustainable targets within it. It's a very key aspect of the development. The project includes a lot of good urban design principles. First and foremost, a SEPTED. We heard in the open house that we held recently that safety was a concern for a lot of people in the downtown. We want to make sure that this site will not just bring, with arena events, 2.5 million people to the downtown and create opportunities for surveillance in the downtown so that it's a very safe place. But we want to make sure that it's a vibrant, active place all the time when non-events are happening. So not only would we get the pedestrian traffic that comes with that, but we want to make sure that when we do design the site, they're employing crime prevention through environmental design. That means that we're making sure that there's great blinds or surveillance. There's always good lighting. It's a safe place regarding how you design the street lights, how do you design the landscaping so that it's not too dark, so that there's never an opportunity for no or little surveillance. Buildings on the site will be unique, iconic, and will very much add to the skyline of downtown Edmonton. There will be no blank walls, and to avoid that, we're going to make sure the frontages and at the street level are very active and vibrant. We have to make sure that the buildings will have great articulations, that they're interesting places. Not only that, but the amount of commercial activity at the street level will add to that vibrancy and ensure that there's no blank walls on the site. You can also make sure that as the site is a vertically and horizontally mixed-use development, that'll add further visual interest on the site. Building forms will develop as a combination of podiums plus towers or standalone high-quality design buildings. What does that mean? That means it would have a terracing of buildings as you go up. So you would not go to the site, for example, in a future state, whether that's 10 years from now or 15 years from now or 5 years from now, and just see a 40-story building that would go straight up, and it would then cast a larger shadow. We want to make sure that view sheds are maintained as much as could be, and that we allow as much light penetration down to the street level as possible. So there'd be a stepping back of buildings from the street level to the top of the building. If you think of this in terms of, some people call it a Vancouver approach in terms of the podium, others might call reference to the 1920s and 30s in New York in terms of the Art Deco movement and the cascading of buildings and the layering of them. So trying to emulate that type of design. There will be a high degree of transparency and visual interest at the street level, and the pedestrian-oriented streetscapes will be ensured by way of the street furniture, the lighting, and the landscape. We'll make sure it's appropriate and interesting and vibrant. Winter city design is so key. This site needs to be successful 12 months of the year. It's a key part of the business plan, and the economics dictate that it must be that. Not only will there be a huge amount of commercial on the site to make it an exciting destination within the downtown, but we need to make sure that we're designing it so it's a place that Edmontonians can go to in December. We want to make sure that it's a place that you can go to in November if it's a slightly warmer November, or in March, and you can enjoy a sandwich outside, you can enjoy a cappuccino outside. We want to make sure you can do that. There's so much that's been done in terms of winter city design all over the world, and we want to make sure that we do that on the site. So that means making sure we design it with canopies, arcades, colonnades. You can include potentially even things like heated awnings. There's a number of different winter city design elements that can be done. You can also deal with the placement and location of buildings so as to minimize the wind impact. If you can minimize the wind impact, you make it a lot more comfortable to be in an outdoor setting. Buildings and public spaces shall be designed with materials and forms to mitigate the effects of winter climate and increase pedestrian comfort, safety. Nightscaping will also be employed on the site. Lighting that may change hues to mark season, weather events, and accentuate the architectural elements of the site. I very much think of Edmonton as having a brilliant palette, especially during the winter months. Because we're dark for 6 months or more of the year, it gives us a phenomenal palette. So it's a great opportunity to employ the best lead lighting systems out there and do some really interesting, creative, and even whimsical things with the nightscaping of the site to make it a very exciting place. Public art is a very key part of the land use zone as well. It will be incorporated into the open space, architectural facades, and breaks in the facade and the landscaping. There will be pedestals for public art, and there will be places that it can be located. It may be provided as well in the form of programmed water features and lightscaping displays. So waterscaping and landscaping and things like that. With respect to the amendment to the Capital City Downtown Plan, we have looked at both the existing 1997 plan that we had to base our application on, and that application, which is in current draft form, which is pending to go to council in June. We've designed our plans so that we're in conformance with that. It's very key that we conform, not just we amend the plan so we can make sure that we can be in line with what was originally done in 1907, but we want to make sure that we're in line with what's going forward with the existing plan. That's why we took the existing CCA zone that's going forward and we amended it to adjust to the site. But the bulk of what's in the existing CCA zone for the site is very similar to what we're proposing on the site. We want to make sure that we're very much in conformance with downtown. It's key that this be enhancing the downtown and this be the greatest catalyst to turning around the downtown and continue that critical mass so that we can continue to grow and the success story in the downtown can get better and better.